what I want to talk about real quick is who needs parents in order to perform. We're going to go through who needs parents, why do school need parents to perform, and then lastly, and most importantly, before you leave here, what I want to do is give you some tips, some strategies on how you can get your parents at your location to be partners in performance. Okay, who needs parents? If parents won't or can't perform, countries have more to do. Let me give you some data. The taxpayer cost of the breakdown of the family is estimated at least $112 billion per year. Now, just to kind of give you some relativity with that cost, make that cost relative, the Iraq war, in 5 years, we've spent $500 billion in Iraq in 5 years. We spend $112 billion a year with family issues, which filter into your school. So we almost spend just as much here as we do in the Iraq war. If anyone wondering how serious parental involvement is, it's serious. Who needs parents? When parents or communities, when parents don't perform in communities, look just at Georgia. I was just doing some data preparing for this presentation. The annual cost for parents, the families who break down here just in Georgia, is $1.46 billion, and each one of you are paying for that breakdown per year, look, $1,300. If you think parental involvement is not serious, it affects us all. If parents or families who can't or won't perform, then corporations have to do more. Corporations every year talk about what they have to do to retrain employees who are hired but can't either read or write properly in order to do their jobs effectively. So performance is lost. If parents or families won't or can't perform, churches have to. Now, I'm a youth minister, so I see this firsthand. I see it firsthand when parents aren't involved with the life of their child. They literally expect me and those who work with me to teach their children things that should have been taught at home. And I'm not just talking about biblical things. Who needs parents? If parents or families won't or can't perform, schools have more to do. You guys have more to do when parents can't do what they need to do. Right? Yes or no? Give me an idea. What more do you have to do when parents can't? You don't have to write it down. Just talk to me. What do you have to do more when they can't perform?
Provide supplies.
That's right. Supplies that should have been, clothing. Exactly. Now, I never thought clothing was as serious as it is until I began traveling to different. I thought it was just in Detroit, but as I begin to start working with other districts around the country, clothing is serious. You literally have to have a closet for clothes because you can't call home and ask. Oftentimes, you can't call and ask someone to come get them. You have to keep them there and clothe them. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So the kids are out there getting engaged in things that they know very little about, and they are putting themselves at risk. So
right.
they end up having to take on their own responsibility.
And that was not in your lesson plan, was it? As a math teacher, I mean, you want to teach math, but at the same time, you've got to deal with some social issues that don't always give you the time to give them the time on task that they need. So when parents aren't able, we end up having to carry more of the load.
Physical, because we sometimes have to realize the child cannot see.
That's right.
The child has some other type of health issue.
That's right. You have to be an advocate for them there. I'll tell you how serious this thing is to me. If the two of them, and including, I'm sorry, what's your name, sir? Damon. If the two of these ladies here and Damon lifted up this table, and it took the three of them to hold this table, you couldn't do it by yourself. You couldn't do it by yourself. So you enlisted the help of Damon. The three of you now grab this table and lift it up, right? So now Damon decides, you know something, it's lunchtime, I'm out of here. But you two are still holding the table. What happens? What's that? Yeah. That's right. You get a couple different options. The three of you all are holding this up. If Damon says, look, it's lunchtime, I'll see you all later. You could do it. The two of you all could do it. The question becomes now is, how long could you hold that table? And how well would you be able to hold that table? I mean, I know that sometimes that may look like it's oversimplifying the issue, but that's exactly what's happening in education. And that's why I say parenting is not as sexy as some of the other issues we talk about, but it's just as important. Parental involvement is just as important because you've got to talk about teacher accountability. You do. You also do have to talk about the culture of the class, of the educational environment. You do. But at the same time, you can't put all the weight on teaching. You can't put all the weight on administration. You can't put all the weight on behavior in the classroom. At some point, we've got to have some honest conversation about somebody who should be at the table, and we need you back at the table to just carry your weight. You don't have to carry all the weight, just carry your weight. And that is what this really is all about.
A lot of times, what I notice from parents is they will allow you, the teacher, because we have a habit of saying, especially in middle school, that the child should be responsible. The child should know that they're the age now they should know right from wrong.
Yes.
And when you speak those words, even as a teacher, I notice that sometimes the parents will also buy into that because again, it allows them to kind of disappear.
Right.
And then shift the blame to the child.
Exactly.
He should know that.
Yeah.
Taught him. Now it's his or her job to carry it on. So
Yeah.
even just shifting it to saying the child.
Right. Exactly. And when you look at the research, when you look at the data of high-performing schools, they found a way to make sure that this table, the weight of the table, is carried. Now, if the parental involvement is not there, what they've been able to do very successfully is to bring in another partner who will carry that weight. When you look at Mr. Jeffrey Canada in New York, what he's been able to do is to bring in a whole host of additional support partners who will carry the weight. Now, I'm not playing the blame game and saying that it's all parents, it's all this. What I am saying is when those partners are in place, you either have to fill the void or the structure falls. When parents aren't efficient or effective, you've got to fill the void or performance falls. When teachers aren't doing what they can and should do, you've got to fill the void or performance falls. Look what's happening in Denver right now as we speak. Mr. Bill Gates has gotten involved with teacher evaluation. $9.7 million is being given to Denver to evaluate teachers. Because what they're saying is if teachers aren't doing their jobs, in Michigan right now, the legislator just passed a bill, tenure is going out the window. Because everyone's now trying to find a way to hold this table up. In a minute, the light will shine on parents, and it's going to be mandatory that parents get involved some kind of way. I don't know when it's coming, but I'm hoping for it to come soon because you guys can't carry the weight of the table all by yourself. You can't do it.
At some point, we have to feed the kids also.
You got to feed them. Yeah, and there's just, at some point, all of those things that you have to do, and it's good that you do them, it takes away from the instructional time. How about you as an administrator? It takes away from you being able to be a leader in that building because you're dealing with issues that don't directly affect performance. The big question should not be, and it should not be, and we often ask this question, should not be who needs parents to perform. The big question needs to be changed is who needs parents to perform so that they can perform. We've got to ask the question a different kind of way. Not do we need parents to perform, that's obvious, but who needs parents to perform so that they can perform? When you ask the question that way, you get a different type of answer. And the answer to that question is, we all do. Every single entity in this country needs parents to do what they need to do in order for them to do what they need to do. When parents don't do what they need to do, the government pays more money, communities pay more money, churches pay more money, and schools use more resources. We all need parents to do what they need to do so that what? We can do what we need to do. It's just that simple, but we got to ask the question the right way. The question I ask now is, why do we need parents to perform? Now, there's three brutal facts, and if anyone's read any of Jim Collins' information, he talks about brutal facts, dealing with the brutal facts. Let me give you three brutal facts. The first brutal fact is parents are customers. The parents are the customers. Now, I don't have time to do it, but when I'm doing it in a larger crowd and I have more time, I typically pass an index card around when I open up, and I ask everyone in the room, who's the primary customer in the educational system? You know what I hear around the country from administrators and teachers, practitioners? That the kids are the customers. They're not the customers. The parents are our customers. Now, I know from a teacher modality, from your paradigm, it has to kind of shift a little bit, but as a business, we have to look at this thing from a business standpoint. And as a business, parents are our customers. That's the brutal fact, not the kids. The kids are not the customers, the parents are. Second brutal fact, if parents are weak, what? Schools are going to be weak. Getting back to the table analogy again. If parents are weak, the schools are going to be weak unless you guys take on a heavier burden. By show of hands, who wants to pick up a heavier burden? Nobody? Now you look like you got some big shoulders there, so you look like you can handle, brother, you look like you can handle a heavier burden. Come on, mom, grandma, teacher, you can't handle more? You all can't handle, you all. Come on now, you done went and got that big degree. You got the big office now. You can't handle more? Wow, brutal fact. When parents are weak, all of us are weakened. The third brutal fact, and here's the brutal fact that we are starting to learn more and more since competition is happening in our marketplace. If parents leave, what? The kids leave. When the parents leave, the kids leave. I don't know about your districts, but where I come from, parents moving, it's like every 3 months. We have to not only have a marketing plan to recruit parents, you have to have a marketing plan to retain your customers. Because you know they're going to move, you've got to have a marketing plan in place that says, I know mom, grandmom, auntie, uncle, dad is going to move, but I've got to have such a customer service plan in place that even when they move a couple blocks over, that they'll still want to keep their child in my building. The brutal fact is parents are our customers. The brutal fact is when they're weak, we're weak. The brutal fact is when they leave, brutal facts. We cannot get around it. Jim Collins says this, in confronting the brutal facts, the good to great companies left themselves stronger and more resilient, not weaker and more dispirited. There is a sense of exhilaration that comes in facing head on the hard truths. Those are the brutal facts. The brutal facts are parents have got to be a part of this solution. You guys can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. I don't care how many new computers you get, how many new core curriculums you get, how do you standardize the curriculum? You can do all you want to, but if those kids aren't going home to a supportive educational environment,